Steven's got to figure out the best order of operations here to play with the most amount of interactions. A thing I love seeing a lot of players talk about when they're more competitive is they'll talk about like this checklist that they go through as they go through their first combo to kind of suss out what interactions the opponent has in hand. Like, oh, they would ash me here. If they knew this, they would imper me there. If they don't do that, that means I can assume they don't have it. Here we see Steven starting with a Lurry, going into a Requiem, and immediately sending it to the graveyard to summon out Engraver. So that means we can probably rule out a couple of things. Like maybe an Ash Blossom, or we could imagine Christopher maybe holding that for a more interactive card.
We have seen people let Fiendsmith players just kind of go on until they hit the Fiendsmith sequence and then stop things there, because that is kind of a choke point, as it's called. But we are seeing full steam ahead for now as the Fiendsmith's Requiem gets equipped actually to the Lacrimosa, the Crimson Tears, Lacrima, the Crimson Tears, and is going to go ahead and bring out the Necro-equipped Princess.
This could combo really well with any Ryzeals we might have in hand because they almost all activate in the hand. And there we see a Tract coming down from Steven, just more access to these powerful Fiendsmith cards. A very robust engine, actually, for playing Lacrima, Tract. Yeah, we always opt with the response to your opponent, but Chris didn't have any problems with it, so I'm sure it's fine.
Gotta be silent. Get in the habit of saying no response. Even up here, you get comfortable when you've been on the top tournament tables for a while, but you still have to play the game to the best of your ability because, again, it's the semifinals. Don't make a mistake now.
Go ahead and resolve Tract, discard the Fool Us, and then we're going to activate Engraver's Effect to send. Going to add a second copy of Tract, so we know Steven plays at least 2.
Definitely a very committed Fiendsmith strategy, not just sort of sprinkling it on top of a Ryzeal deck, but maybe more close to half and half. We'll have to see the deck profiles after this event.
We're going to go ahead and get a draw there because of Necro's Effect activating a card from the hand. There we go. Return Lurry to special back Engraver, and now we have 2 level 6s. That's another cool thing you can play. Another rank 6 Xyz monster potentially that we've seen, and Ryzeal, that could be pretty special.
Certainly a great way to get the rank 6 out before you get locked into rank 4s, even if you do get locked into rank 4s, but it seems like with the normal summon of Lacrima earlier in the turn, probably going to be likely locked in if you are going to extend with your Ryzeal monsters. And also, we got to see that Fabled Lurry, yeah, it doesn't feel great to draw it in the opening hand, but it's still Light Fiend, so it got this combo going. But set 2 and pass.
There we go over to Christopher, he draws for turn. Now he's got to deal with a Caesar in 2 back row. Starting off with X Ryzeal, so special from hand, sending a card to the graveyard. It sends for cost, which means Caesar cannot interact with it. Sorry, it's not. It's an inherent summon, which means Caesar cannot interact with it.
That is correct. That summon doesn't start a chain. But this sure does. So we're going to try to negate the Caesar, so Caesar's not getting anything handed to it.
I wonder what those 2 set cards could be. Do you think he hard drew Fiendsmith in Paradise if he plays it? That'd be pretty funny.
Could be. We've also seen Duelist set a number of other cards. Maybe it is a Dominus Impulse or something like that. Something that feels good if you're able to set it, right? Maybe a little awkward if you happen to draw it, but, well, only time will tell.
I'm sure Chris is wondering, what could those set cards be? Probably just a Imperm, maybe, is his safe assumption. Was that a special of Sword Ryzeal or a normal?
Looks like it was the normal summon.
I think because Christopher's playing pure, it's perfectly fine just to go for the straight special because he's not going to lock himself out of anything important. Just make sure he has as much sort of robust field presence as possible.
That is correct there. So we are going to go ahead and grab. So what are we grabbing from the deck here? Also going to be the special summon. I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah, because it must be, because he wants to keep the Ice Ryzeal normal summon as like a potential thing for him to do next.
Very powerful to get another level 4 monster on the field from the deck. But first,
rank 4 is the Duo Drive.
Feels like Duo Drive would feel pretty strong here, and it might be able to get something out of those face-down cards. Like, please activate them. I need to know.
Going for the Detonator first. I think recognizing that he's going second wants to maybe try to do some interaction with those boards. Like you said, get them out of contention.
So it was the normal summon. So we did special summon the Sword Ryzeal, so Ice Ryzeal being normal summoned. And no response. I'm curious to know, maybe those aren't necessarily helpful cards. Could be like a Ryzeal Plasma Hole.
Oh, yeah, maybe. If Trip does play that, that'd be pretty big.
On res.
So on resolution.
Interesting. Maybe using one of those face-down cards.
Probably just thinking about where Chris could go from here. Obviously, we can make a Duo Drive. Obviously, we can make other rank 4 XCs. We still have to question what Christopher has in hand because every card we've seen has all been from this one X Ryzeal that he began his turn with.
Oh, but no response there. Checked the cards and decided not to activate anything.
I think we recognize that we have Node in hand, which is just like a really hard card. And there we see Abyss Dweller coming out. automatically activating the effect. It's one of the few cards that can pretty proactively detach.
It's definitely going to be powerful there.
This does give us access to Node Ryzeal now, too, to get some value out of the graveyard.
Now we see the infinite impermanence.
And there we see the chain of Detonator. Maybe not going to set the aggregator because we cannot use it again this turn, I believe.
Well, certainly nothing to aggregate right now anyway.
Did he use Detonator to target his own Dweller?
Oh, sorry.
To protect it from Imperm, maybe?
That would be a way to do it. If it's not face up on the field, it can't be negated by infinite impermanence. But he hasn't declared a target yet. I haven't seen any pointing, so...
Yeah, it was the Dweller.
It was. Wow. Heads up play, so Dweller's effect is going to resolve, so no graveyard effects for now. Imperm goes to the graveyard.
Notably, the Imperm was played in the second column from the right. Everyone remember that, as it was set.
Be nice to see some of those Master Duel bubbles.
Yep, and there we see the Node Ryzeal being special from the hand. Going to be sending X Ryzeal, I believe, for that cost. And then bringing back Sword Ryzeal. Is it Duo Drive time?
I feel like maybe it is the Duo Drive. Yep.
I really like Chris's play here, sort of forcing out the interactions from Steven as early as possible, so that way he can pretty much guarantee that this Duo Drive goes through, and he can get access to cross and plug in. A second
another
Imperm.
one. Wow, very patient there.
Those two cards he set were very helpful.
Now, technically, you could be very interesting taking a look at the graveyard.
I forget, Duo Drive detaches at the end of the effect, right? You don't detach before?
Correct. So if it's special summon, you can attach a Ryzeal monster. Oh, whoops. Yeah, you could. So you could. Oh, no, but it's during the main phase. That's an ignition effect, so there would not be a version of this where you could do it. But we're going to use infinite. Wow, infinite purpose is going to be called by the cross-out designator.
And then we also chained Detonator to destroy the Caesar. So basically, we're going to end up with wiping out all of Steven's board and maybe still getting access to our Duo Drive to attach another monster?
Now, don't lose sight of the fact that Christopher held on to that cross-out designator and ignored the first infinite impermanence. He wanted the Duo Drive to resolve. And here we go.
Yep.
And here we go, detaching 2 for the Duo Drive. Whenever this happens, that can only be good things for Ryzeal players. We're going to get Cross, the most powerful field spell for this archetype, as well as potentially Plasma Hole or Plug-in. We're going to see the Plug-in being added here. It's better to always keep Plasma Hole in the deck so that way you can attach it later with Plug-in. And I don't think we need any more main deck monsters.
Certainly do not. Everything has gone Christopher's way so far in this duel. Some very skillful play. And going to go ahead and plug and play right now with the Ryzeal plugin.
I mean, we still have our battle phase, so there's a world where we can do some big damage to Steven this turn.
And it's only game 1. Hey, there's the Plasma Hole.
That is going to be a really powerful card for him. I don't think we have access to any more level 4 monsters, though, so I don't know how we're going to be able to Xyz on the opponent's turn. We did use some of our extra extenders to get that Dweller in play.
Oh,
I forgot we can summon Ice Ryzeal. I didn't know we had another one in hand.
Sending a card from the hand to the graveyard will definitely get it done. So what will the final Xyz summon be?
It's going to be a Dugaris to revive? Is that going to be enough damage?
It very well may be. Attach 2.
It could be draw. I'm not sure which effect we're using.
That is true.
Because I believe the summon effect will make you skip your next battle phase or this battle phase.
I believe it's the next battle phase, but that was enough for...
The Handshake of Destiny, and we're going to draw the cards.
Again, Steven just carefully drawing those cards.
I'm a man.
Absorbing it bit by bit. But he is going first.
Almost summon Ice Ryzeal. That's one of the best starts I can imagine. And there we see the Chain Fulos, and there we see the Chain Crossout Designator.
Crossout Designator going to banish that Mulcharmy Fualos.
So, Chain Link 3, get rid of Fualos to negate the other Fualos. Fualos resolves with that effect, and then Ice Ryzeal to summon from the deck.
Get a little bit of peek of where this is going.
Taking Sword. Oh, we're going to get X Ryzeal here. Effect to add.
So X is going to grab a little extension.
Going to grab Node. I want to mark here that Steven is currently not locked into Xyz yet because he has not summoned either of these cards using their summon effects.
It looks like we're going, and Excite on Night. It is a light
That
feed.
is a light feed monster going into the Requiem. What an awesome way to get into your Fiendsmith engine off of just one monster.
I'll tell you, going to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Database and just typing in Light Fiend and finding out all the fun surprises you have in store, there's some really cool stuff out there. So Exxon Knight, another great card. Going to go ahead and get you into the Requiem. Requiem will bring out Lacrima. Lacrima is going to send a card to the graveyard here. That
was something so awesome about the early Infinite Forbidden format. Just looking up all the fun cards you have synergies with these really cool archetype of Fiendsmith. And they're like, you know what? How about a new one? Fiendsmith and Lacrima. That's a really good card you could add to it.
So now we're going to the Necro-Equip Princess here after the Requiem equips to Lacrima. So I think we are going for that standard board, including the Caesar. Again, Triple D High Wave King Caesar is just an incredible card and really powerful here. Just having those two negation abilities, right? Detach both those materials in a single turn to stop 2 special summons.
It's also important to note here that I believe this Engraver is the 5th summon, which means we have to Nibiru now, otherwise Caesar comes down, which means we won't be able to do it again. It's like I said, that checklist that players go through when they're trying to play through interactions. Okay, this is the best time to do this. This is their best time to Nibiru. Clearly they have it, and now I can keep playing.
So Steven might have thought that he was safe from the Nibiru of the Primal Being because his opponent only had 4 cards and wasn't going to draw. So it looks like it's a 3,800 attack, 4,400 defense token.
It is pretty beefy.
Very much so. Now we're going to use Sword. Sword, of course, locking us in now.
Because I believe we special did, right?
Mm-hmm. Since we normal some of the Ice Ryzeal earlier in the turn.
Exactly. Going to be adding that X.
This is Sword Ryzeal. Yes, I have a Ryzeal engraved.
Yep, all you need to do is have a Ryzeal engraved. You can summon it from the hand.
Certainly accessible summoning condition there, but does come at a cost. Steven taking a moment here again. He is standing on his back leg while Christopher could safely just concede this game right now.
So there we see the sending of Aggregator from the extra deck to summon X Ryzeal from hand. I believe each effect can be used once.
So X for extension, and we are extending into, interestingly, the duo drive here.
Again, here we go, just trying to see what kinds of interactions Christopher has access to as Steven. We're going to go ahead and attach for turn, then we're going to detach 2 to search. It's uninteracted. We saw last time how well this went for Christopher. Let's see how well it goes for Steven this time.
I'll have 5.
Right, so he's going for the Ryzeal Cross, but instead he is going for another Ryzeal monster instead of getting that plug-in. So it shows you that he values the monster a little bit more than the insurance.
Once I have access to maybe a potential additional rank 4, we're going to activate the effect across here to get an additional draw, continuously dig through our deck.
Looks like we're going to go ahead and cut here because Ryzeal Cross is swapping those 2 to the bottom to draw 1. Definitely has a little Rescue Ace vibe to it.
Drew a powerful spell card there, I think. I think that was that Thrust that we just top decked?
I think so. Might be a Collector's Rare. It's a little... Oh, no, I think it's a Fiendsmith. Yeah, Fiendsmith tracked. Oh, what a way to get the Fiendsmith Paradise to the graveyard. Fiendsmith and Paradise obviously usually sent from the deck to the graveyard, but not usually from the hand. But here we go again. It's the wonderful, incredible Ryzeal Detonator, and it's going to be attaching the Meteorologic Aggregator. So 3 materials and that extra effect negation there from the Aggregator. It's a pretty good ending field.
Nothing like a 1-card XZs using Node.
And that's passing. So just 2 Xyz monsters, a token, and a prayer.
We're going to start off with Bonfire here. Could be a little, not a big deal at all. I mean, it has the potential to become a monster like Ice or Extra Ryzeal.
We have seen that some players believe that the best way to combat a fellow Ryzeal deck is just to keep them from having 2 monsters on the board. So it's possible right now you could use the Detonator, but it seems like we're just going to pass. Obviously, Nibiru is not level 4, so it's not too scary, and it's not known for its Link monsters, this deck, but we'll see if that pays off, or if maybe that was the wrong move.
Yep, and there we see Extra Ryzeal coming down. Something to note here is that I believe Christopher needs to find a way to use this Nibiru before he can fully get all the benefits of having X Ryzeal come into play.
So taking just a moment to consider those options. Christopher doesn't want to give up the lead here. He brings it to a game 3. That could be the end. And is that Metal Tronus?
That is Metal Tronus, a really powerful card that came out in Legacy of Destruction, correct?
Yeah, and we haven't seen it in quite a few formats, but again, these are cards that, well, they match pretty well.
Yeah, and especially when you're fighting against a deck that has similar cards or similar types and attributes, I believe this will allow him to summon a monster from his deck that has the same type and Attribute as a monster on Steven's field, and if they do match, you can negate the effect, and if they happen to have the same name, they both get banished face down.
That is correct, but well, the good news is he doesn't have to worry about the same name since he's not going to be special summoning too much, but I guess you could special summon from the extra deck to burn off that card. So again, staring at the Metaltronus, what do I do? Do I decide to go ahead and detach now? Maybe do I detach and destroy my own monster? But the problem is your opponent, this case Steven, can't activate the targeted monster's effects in response to this card's activation, so you can't even chain with the Metaltronus here.
Yep, and this would let him summon a Light Pyro, I believe, from his deck, so he can get either Ice or Extra Ryzeal, both really good cards.
Yeah, it doesn't technically have to make the match, but it looks like he is going to do it as he picks up his extra deck there. So we are going to go Detonator to banish Detonator face down. And there goes all those wonderful materials that could have been. That's got to be face down, though. Flip that over, Steven, when you can.
Yep, no plugin can bring that back.
Just insane to see Metaltronus again this far in the tournament. I believe it was Paolo who used it earlier at Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series Indianapolis, and it shows you practically 6 months later, still an incredible card.
I mean, if you think that you have the best deck in the room and you're expecting a lot of mirror matches, it could be a really awesome card to include in your side deck.
It kind of shows you the confidence that Christopher has. He's like, no, I do believe Ryzeal is the deck that duelists should pick, and so I'm going to bet the whole farm on it by playing Metaltronus.
And here we see the Requiem going to get another copy of Black Rumor that we just put back using the Requiem effect. And I believe he's just reading Fiendsmith in Paradise to recognize what kind of interaction Steven can have as he continues his turn.
Certainly gives you a little bit more gas in the tank to be able to threaten that Fiendsmith Desiree, but instead, looks like we are just going to have the Beer of the Primal Being attack.
And I believe it's 3,800 attack token, which means we will be able to basically clear our own Nibiru and give us access to our full extra Ryzeal that we added to our hand earlier.
That is right. Those effects don't always work if you have something else in the field. Ryzeal is supposed to be a Ryzeal strategy, and so here we go. It's Ryzeal time.
Going to go ahead and set the Aggregator to summon Ext. Going to go ahead and target the Cross using Aggregator so that way he does not get that powerful negate on resolution effect, unless he wants to do it now on Aggregator, in which case it's the same thing. And he loses some material off Duo Drive.
Well, it looks like he is not going to do it as he picks the deck back up. So Ice Ryzeal added to the hand.
Yep, that's a really powerful one-card XYZ, and there we see the special summon of Sword, or that could be normal. I don't actually know, but my assumption would be that it's special.
I would assume so based on the field. Notice that there is a Ryzeal on the field, so I feel like that indicates to me that Sword Ryzeal was special summoned.
And that way you can use your Ice Ryzeal that you just added as your normal summon for turn.
Definitely lets you feel the field out too. But just incredible gameplay here from Christopher as he puts Steven on the back ropes. But you wouldn't think that looking at Steven's field, but really just depends on how this turn plays out. There's no favorites here, but now we are going to Xyz summon.
This could be the Duo Drive. This could be Detonator. Again, we see Chris really favoring going for that Detonator. Depending on how many he plays, this could be the last one in his extra deck because he did banish his own as well as getting rid of Steven's.
Certainly proudly professing that card. I think that's a quarter-century secret rare as well.
Of the Metaltronus?
Of the Detonator.
Ah, yes. Looks gorgeous.
Really does, really does. Like you were saying, shiny cardboard, right?
Oh, yeah. Only way to go.
Steven taking a quick look at the graveyard here, considering his options again. Every single decision determines the future.
I think he's going to Paradise now, send the Desiree, and then just try to immediately deal with the Detonator, because I believe Desiree sends, which means I don't believe Detonator can protect it.
That is correct, but we are going to go ahead and detach to destroy the Ryzeal cross-field spell, send the Desiree to the graveyard.
Resolve the effect to equip a new material, and then we're going to chaining to the Desiree effect to send. We're going to chain Detonator again to probably destroy Duo Drive? Question mark?
Imagine it's worth clearing things out bit by bit, and the Duo Drive, obviously you want to clear as many Ryzeal cards as possible, and you don't want to have another 2-material Duo Drive just in case there's a Ryzeal plugin later in the duel.
And just, we are going to get rid of the Nibiru token.
I guess it is the largest monster on the field.
And I think it's important to note that, again, depending on how many Detonators Christopher plays, that could have been his last one. Most duelists play two.
There we go. Steven remembered to banish it face down.
Always important, because if it wasn't face down, plugin could bring it back.
That is correct. That is correct.
So here we see Ice Ryzeal being normal summoned. Man, and we still have Node Ryzeal in hand. That's so much extension. And we've already protected our battle phase this turn, so we're not really too worried about anything else happening. But we could go for, like, I don't know, a Dweller, We've seen people play Babushka, all kinds of really powerful utility rank 4s.
Well, speaking of utility rank 4s, we are seeing the duo drive arrive.
I love attaching detonator. And there we see the Nibiru on the summon of
Wow.
Duo Drive. Way to hold on to that one, Steven. Great interaction. Clearing the entire board. This is going to be a gigantic Nibiru token.
In defense mode.
I think it has something like 2,000, 4,000, like 58.
Looks like we're counting the numbers now. Maybe about 3,700 attack, it seems like.
And then I think like 58, 57 defense points. Something like
Big.
that.
Big is what it is.
Big rock.
Be careful of what's inside. As we've learned from the recent Megatons, there is a monster that lurks beneath.
That would be awesome. Primera, the primal being or something like that, yeah.
All right, but let's see what we got here.
We still have access to Node, but I don't believe because we have a non-Ryzeal.
The token definitely interferes with things, right? It no longer is a Ryzeal-only field.
I mean, I think we'll still be able to XZ summon, but not being able to go into Detonator doesn't really give us many options on Steven's board to interact. And maybe Christmas maybe just wants to hold on to the resources.
Certainly just depends. Again, he has a little bit of extra ways to go because he won that first game. So even if something happens here where he doesn't manage to get out of this duel alive, he shall be fine on the next one, or at least he'll have a chance to win it out.
Yep, and here we see Steven taking his turn immediately, starting off by shuffling back the Engraver to summon it back. Going to be putting back the Desiree. Bring it onto the board. The really cool thing, too, about the Fiendsmith Ryzeal deck is you're not really hindered by having this Nibiru in play because you can do all of your big Fiendsmith combos. You're going to activate Engraver's effect here to destroy that really big token that you couldn't have gotten rid of anyways. And now we're going to keep going. I know we have an Ice Ryzeal in our hand that we got on Steven's first turn, and there's just going to be these
Handshake. It is time to duel.
2 duelists, 2 handshakes, 2 people having a good time.
Oh, yeah, both of these duelists having a great time, but they're still committed. You don't play to get to top 4. You play to be the king of games. We're going to start right off with our Ice Ryzeal.
Normal summon, special from the deck, no interaction, no Molcharmy, no nothing. Sword Ryzeal special, effect to add. Gonna probably add X Ryzeal here.
Nice little extension. Did see that we have an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring in the hand of Christopher there. Didn't catch the other cards, but that may come up later.
I saw 2 spell cards. They could be something like Cross Out. They could be something like Metal Tronus.
So attempting to use the effect there of the Duo Drive stopped by an Ash Blossom, but looks like we are...
Is that called by the grave?
It might be, but do you use it now or save it for something else? Do you just let the Duo Drive go? No, you say the Duo Drive has to do what it does in effect.
Veiler the Chain on Duo Drive to still deny the effect.
So no Ash Blossom, and that actually hurts a little bit because now the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring in Christopher's hand is completely inert.
But here we see the X Ryzeal going to go ahead and send the Meteorologic Aggregator to go ahead and go search for the Node Ryzeal this time on summon of X Ryzeal. Keep in mind that Steven has now used 2 interactions here. There could be a world where he still has something like Nibiru, but besides that, I can't think of much else that would stop Christopher from this point. I think he has a guaranteed Detonator in his future, but then we're actually going to get Sword because we have not used the effect of summon from hand yet. Pretty heads-up play from Christopher because I don't think he's going to do much extension past this.
Feels like at this point we are just going to see a Detonator and attach that Meteorologic Aggregator. And no,
it's going to be a
Babushka!
Babushka! Whoa! We are going to try to lock out Steven from using any monster effects on the following turn. This must allow him to play through the Fiendsmith cards, as I imagine what Christopher is thinking.
Terribly tired tape here. Definitely could take a nap with the best of them, and it's going to make Lacrima do the same, locking out that entire combo line. Now, if a monster can't take a nap, obviously if it's not switched to defense mode like Link monsters, they'll still be able to be played, but that's just not going to be enough. It practically is like a dimensional barrier in its own right.
There we see the Engraver effect from hand to send itself to the graveyard and search for a spell card. Going to go ahead and grab Tract. Activate Tract effect to go ahead and grab, I would assume, Lurie. Could get Lacrima. That could be pretty cool. They're going to get Lurie, immediately discard it to the graveyard, and then activate the effect add discard to summon it back to the board. In defense mode because of Babushka, of course. Something that's really cool about Christopher's play here is that he's essentially trying to buy himself a turn to come back and use that Duo Drive again. Be like, you used 2 cards to try to stop it? Use another one, please. And then I'll keep playing after that. There we see Requiem. Requiem being a Link monster is immune to Babushka being able to activate its effective tribute for cost.
Can you imagine a world where you could rotate the Link arrows?
Would that be 0 defense or infinite defense, do you think?
Ooh, no comment. But joking aside here, we're going to go ahead and special summon the Lacrima, but again, it is not going to have its effect resolved because it is in defense mode.
Yeah, normally Lacrima requires a ton of cards in your hand to actually stop all of its amazing effects, but here we just needed one, Babushka. I mean, there's a world where we go back to Christopher, he just switches that thing to attack mode, goes full Ryzeal combo, and just attacks for game.
That really may be what's in store. Steven certainly having an incredible tournament run and trying to hold on as much as he can. Maybe if there's a Chaos Angel, this might be the way to bring it out.
I believe Chaos Angel would not be able to banish on summon, but it would be protected from a card effects, correct?
Think so, but let's see what he ends up going for.
How much defense does Chaos Angel have? 2,500?
I believe so, yeah. The 3,500 attack is what it's signaturely known for, but maybe that's where we're going. But instead, actually, rotating that Requiem and actually bringing out, so interesting here, the Necroquip Princess in defense mode.
And there we see what appears to be a Link 2 going into SP Little Knight targeting the Babushka to get rid of it. Does that mean we have access to Ryzeal cards in hand? Because this will deal with those.
We would. It just depends on if there's any interaction to stop this. Showcasing the graveyard for his opponent. Three cards in hand.
I think I saw a monster earlier in the turn. It could be a Ryzeal name.
Yeah, we're going to let it get banished. So everybody wake up. The alarm clock is ringing. Steven, it is time to wake up and play some cards. So what do you got?
Importantly, if we don't. And there we see Ice Ryzeal being summoned. And there we see Metal Tronus being chained once again. This will allow him to summon from the deck, I believe. So I believe you could Ash Blossom it. But no, you can't because it's a call by the grave.
Yeah, the Ash Blossom is not going to do anything right now.
And you can get your own copy of Ice Ryzeal. Banish both face down. There we see Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit.
Yeah, the alternate art. So just some incredible stuff here again. The duel slowly drawing to a close as the opponents whittle each other down in card advantage.
Yeah, so I believe Steven declared SP Little Knight, targeting both his Ice Ryzeal and SP, but if you Ghost Ogre, you destroy this SP, and I don't believe it resolves, right? Because you don't have two.
Got to banish both. Now he will return one or the other just in case, but that is not the case when you banish. So yeah, that is going to destroy it. Nothing's happening.
Doesn't resolve, right? Yeah, I'll ban it.
Yep, and they both get banished face down.
Both? Yeah, it negates it. Okay.
Boom, Metal Tronus being an amazing tech card for Christopher in this game 3. Potentially stopping Steven from any more plays. That was his normal summon. We need something like X Ryzeal in hand. And because we don't have any Ryzeals in the graveyard yet, Sword Ryzeal isn't enough either.
I feel like I definitely got to search my card collection for Metal Tronus because it continues. Every time it shows up in a tournament, it is so impactful. And oddly, usually only shows up in the top 4 or higher.
But there we see Bonfire searching for X Ryzeal and not having access to the Ash Blossom in Christopher's hand because of his Call by the Grave last turn is going to hurt him here. That would have fully stopped this from happening.
So this is Steven's chance.
And we saw Christopher contemplating, like, do I call by that Ash Blossom and turn off my own? Is it worth it? For Duo Drive it is, but here that could be his downfall because you could have stopped this X Ryzeal from adding to hand.
Sometimes there's just 2 paths ahead of you. You've got to choose either left or right, but you don't know what's at the end of that road. And the path not taken has led us exactly to this moment.
And there we see Steven choosing to send Detonator to the graveyard for X Ryzeal so that way he has access to a Ryzeal name in the graveyard to summon Sword Ryzeal, which will then special summon itself and then add a copy of Ice Ryzeal to hand, giving him all the names he needs to continue and make these awesome rank 4 plays.
Metal Tronus alone may not be enough. A great card that we were certainly singing the praises of, but it doesn't necessarily stop things here when the last point of interaction that Christopher has, again, does nothing.
All right, here's the question. Where do we go from here? It's like, what is that last card in hand, as I imagine what Steven is thinking of? It obviously can't be Imperm. It would have been set because he has a monster in play. It obviously can't be something like Nibiru. Maybe it would have been activated early in the turn, but I'm not sure what he could be afraid of here. He's going to go ahead and overlay these 2 monsters. Probably going to go into the Detonator or his own Duo Drive because he has not access to both of his engine. Maybe he's thinking it's Baylor. Maybe he's trying to be like, if it's Baylor, that could be really bad.
Be interesting to see what Steven thinks after he sees the replay here, knowing that there was an Ash Blossom there. But instead, he is going to use the Duo Drive.
Effect to attach.
My first one.
So it looks like that is a slow play warning that I believe we received there. So a 3-minute time extension will likely show up. And he's going to be placed on the clock when it hits 0. But looks like we're going to go ahead and detach the materials here.
And Duo Drive Resolve is going to go ahead and probably get the cross and the plugin, but knows he actually searched for the node because he hasn't searched for it with any other effects. Wants to have that in rotation as just a 1-card XZ summon.
Coming through the deck for his second target here.
Going to add Ice, that way he has plenty of names in hand, it looks like.
Bodies and more bodies trying to just jump back in.
Special node, send Ice, overlay Sword and Ice to bring out Detonator, I would assume.
And you're right.
Man, if only Chris did not activate that Call by the Grave, this would have been a totally different game.
Certainly would have wanted to get that play through, but now it's just time for just some straight battling.
Yeah, I believe that's 3,300 damage.
Okay. I'll pass.
Duo Drive should be increasing the attack of monsters on Steven's side by 100 and decreasing the attack of his opponents by 100. And speaking of opponents setting a card, the crowd goes insane as they see that. Using the Requiem effect, returning, and there's the handshake.